Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. This bulletin is coming to you live from our studios here at Kukumlimle in Accra on digital address GA0993341 on Joy 99.7 FM. It's also live on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi, affiliates across the country on ABN Radio in London and around the world at myjoyonline.com. The news is brought to you by Telesol 4G, proudly Ghanaian. Telesol, just a touch. Mark Auto Parts Ghana, distributors of Isuzu and Chevy vehicles. Mark Auto Parts Ghana with you for the long run. In this edition,
I'd known Amaktekwe was very disciplined. For him to have been engaged in the misuse of soldiers to do what he did when we came into office.
Countdown to the much anticipated broadcast of Joy News special assignment documentary Who Killed the Judges begins. As Joy News releases documentary on the shocking murders today, we'll hear from some senior journalists who lived through the era, including managing editor of the Daily Dispatch newspaper, who says there are still more questions.
Until there are other indications, those suspected to have been involved were executed. I believe there was more to it.
It divided the nation. It took us to the depth of barbarism.
Scores of angry customers of First Ally Savings and Loans in Kumasi give regional authorities 1 week ultimatum to ensure the company pays their deposits.
If we don't hear from them 1 week, we are going to Accra with VIP bars to Nanados. Yes. So, Nana, what you are doing to us is very, very wicked.
We'll get live updates as they petition President Akufo-Addo to intervene in what they say is the company's refusal to pay them over the last 4 months. And in sports,
on November 19th, Ghana will be hosting the African Cup of Nations for women. How will the stadia be filled? We get answers from Magnus Rex Danko Sr.
That's later on. And also, U.S. First Lady Melania Trump arrives in Ghana for a 2-day working visit to partner First Lady Rebecca Akufo-Addo and other agencies on child healthcare projects. We'll bring you a live update on her first stop to the Accra Regional Hospital. And also, we head to the NDC headquarters for that live press conference. All that and more coming up here on the Midday News with me, Emefa Apau.
The trial of the coup plotters was very revealing.
People were tortured, and how can you try our generals and top brass within minutes and then say they are guilty, sentenced to death?
That's the voice of the police investigator whose team discovered the charred remains of the 3 High Court judges and the former military officer. Later tonight, Joy News releases the documentary on the murder of the 4, titled Who Killed the Judges. Justices Kwejo Ejepong, Fred Pokusakodie, and Mrs. Cecilia Crantinado, as well as Major Samakwa, retired, were shot and killed during a curfew imposed by the Provisional National Defense Council (PNDC) government in 1982. Son of Justice Ejepong, Kwabna Ejepong, describes the moment the family discovered his father had been killed.
Kwabena assumed that his father would return home after helping his friends out. So he slept that night only to wake up the next morning to the reality that his father might have stayed a bit too long with the visitors.
We were not to notice that he didn't come home. I just went and slept. So it was only in the morning that we had a loud knock on the door. And it was coming from our next door neighbors, and that happened to be Justice Pokusakode. So the wife came to come and inform my dad that last night the husband had been picked and that she saw them. I think she argued a bit, but they were able to take the husband away. But apparently it was after that that they came to our house. We were not the next door neighbors. So I didn't even get it. I just rushed up to my father's bedroom to go and tell him what has happened. I got to the bedroom, he wasn't there. So I went to my mother's room. I said, "What's his daddy?" She said, "He should be asleep." I said, "He's not there." I went downstairs and the food remained the same way he left it. Not finished eating, nobody had touched it. We were confused. Then I also ran out of the house and went to Justice Eduse's house, which is just across. The judges used to stay around the Ridge area. It was when I got to Justice Eduse's house that he confirmed that this is what he called Justice Apalu, who was then the Chief Justice at the time. So it was then that we realized that there was something serious happening and that some 3 judges had been picked the previous night.
That's son of one of the justices that was murdered in 1982. That's Kwabena Ejeyejepo. Now, the documentary is part of the series from the Joy News Special Assignment on crimes that shook the nation. As the country awaits the broadcast of the documentary, managing editor of the Dispatch newspaper, Ben Efson, says the current generation must be told the full story of the killing of those judges.
Ask them, why do you have firms still on slave trade? There are things which happen, and I think that these things are important. If you consider the fact that even in recent past, the 2010 census, nearly 80% of Ghanaians at 2010 were below 40 years of age. So by the time Liman was overthrown, the oldest among 80% was 8 years old. That was December 1981. So for the population, 80%, the oldest was 8 years when this thing happened. So anybody who says that it's unnecessary, they may not know this demographic statistic. It's important that these are events that will ever be a blot on the country's history. At least the important thing was that there were good investigators who were able to detect that the cars that were used, one was found at the State House. That led to the trail. It tells you one thing: Ghanaian police investigators can do the job if they want to.
Mr. Efson maintains there's more to the killings than the world was told.
The bodies were found. Then chairman of the PNDC said that that act had been allegedly been committed by opponents of the government to put the government in bad light. Personally, until there are other indications, those suspected to have been involved were executed. But I believe there was more to it.
Managing editor of the Daily Dispatch newspaper, Ben Efson Jr. In fact, he's not the only one commenting on this documentary. Former NMC chairman Cabral Blea-Mehie has been speaking to my colleague Joseph Akable, who joins us on the line now. So, Joseph, what has Mr. Cabral Blea-Mehie been saying about who killed the judges?
Well, MFI says that it will be pretty tough for the individuals who lost their relatives to watch this particular documentary, but their tragedy was a national tragedy and the nation needs closure to this matter, and he's hopeful that he will get that once Raymond Akwe's documentary airs.
It's tragedies of our national lives, and I recall returning from Togo on an assignment with the late Atwoston, and when we got to Accra the day after the tragedy, there were a lot of roadblocks. We didn't understand what was happening. It turned out that the 3 judges and a soldier had been killed, an officer. And it divided the nation. It took us to the depth of barbarism. And for those of us who lived that era, it deepen the culture of silence and fear, because there was such mystery surrounding the tragedy. It should never happen again.
If you hear that a documentary has been put together on the subject, what kind of line of thought runs through your mind?
Well, I hope it serves as a reminder to the nation that we should never go through that cycle again. I'm hoping that it will capture the moment, and above all, my question is whether it will bring a foreclosure to the issue, because as we speak, the whole truth about who did what is yet to be told. Yes, some guys were convicted and executed for their part, alleged part. But there are still questions that are unanswered.
Former NMC Chairman Cabral Blay Ami here. So it's the second day of October and it's airing today at 8:30 p.m. on Joy News on Multi TV, on Joy FM 99.7 FM, also on Adum FM and Adum TV at 9:30 p.m., myjoyonline.com, and of course, all our social media platforms. Scores of angry customers of First Allied Savings and Loans in Kumasi demonstrating a while ago. They are accusing the company of refusing to pay them their deposits for the last 4 months, despite persistent appeals. The customers, clad in red and holding placards with inscriptions like First Allied, do something, First Allied, we are starving, and government, where are you?, marched on the principal streets of Kumasi to register the anger. Spokesperson for the customers, Justice Akwesi Champon, tells Joy News they have given regional authorities 1 week ultimatum to ensure the company pays their deposits, failing which they will march to the Jubilee House.
Over 4 months ago, we've been going for our money at the bank. Anytime you get there, they tell you there is no money. If they have gone to buy estates in Dubai or whatever, we don't care. We need our money so that we can business with it, we can feed our kids with it, we can take our kids to school and everything. Now we are sending petition to the regional office, today as we leave here. After we gave them, we went there yesterday, we talked to them, and we said this petition is going to be for just 1 week. If we don't hear from them 1 week, we are going to Accra with VIP bars, to Manados. This man called A-Life is very wicked. And we are telling you, A-Life, what you are doing to us is very, very wicked. And we are begging the government of this country. He said we should be citizens. And we are all pleading to the government. If not Kumasi, he can never and ever be president. Because of us that he is the president of Ghana. And we are just begging him. We don't want to, what happened to Muhammad will happen to him. So
you heard there some angry customers of First Allied Savings and Loans in Kumasi. My colleague Prince Apia is with the protesters. He will join us shortly as and when we are able to raise him. But let's head back to Accra because the opposition NDC says over $6 million have been paid to illegal private firms to audit state institutions that are already being investigated by the Economic and Organised Crime Office, EOCO, describing the move as a waste of public funds. Addressing the news conference, General Secretary of the NDC, Johnson Asiedu Nketia, claims the board chairman of the Ghana Audit Service, Professor Edward Duajiman, was made to occupy the opposition to do a hatchet job for the government. The party wants the president to justify the parallel investigations, which he describes as a misuse of the taxpayers' monies.
We note rather curiously that the purported cabinet document is signed by a former Auditor General, Edward Duajiman, as, quote, Secretary to the Cabinet Committee, unquote. Incidentally, Mr. Edward Duajiman is also the chairman of the board of the Audit Service and is engaged in a duel to the death with the Auditor General, Mr. Daniel Yao Domelevo, who has accused him of undermining his authority. We also note that the cabinet document lists certain private firms that are supposed to have audited the state agencies in question. We have credible information that these private firms were not legally engaged since they were not officially authorized by the Auditor General to conduct these audits under the 1992 Constitution. It is only the auditor, under the 1992 Constitution, it is only the Auditor General who is authorized to carry out audits of state agencies. Where for some good reason such audits have to be carried out by private firms, the Auditor General's consent has to be sought. Indeed, it is the Auditor General who is supposed to choose the firms and authorize them on their mandate. Our information is that this did not happen in this case, and that these private firms were sole sourced by Mr. Edward Duajiman, who also works in the office of the senior minister.
You heard the General Secretary of the NDC, Johnson Asiedun Ketia. We'll get more from that press conference in our subsequent bulletins. But let's stay in the stables of the NDC because according to the former president, John Dramani Mahama, the NDC is the party that will make life better for Ghanaians. The flag bearer hopeful, John Dramani Mahama, who has reiterated the party's commitment to improving the welfare of Ghanaians, is in the northern region, and he's been addressing party faithful in the region as part of his campaign tour.
I've always said that if you look at since we implemented the 1992 Constitution, any time Ghana sees development, extension of electricity, water, schools, education, healthcare, any time you see that kind of development and you see that people have the peace of mind and have life a little easier to be able to go about their work, it is in the period that NDC is in power. And so all I'm saying is that if there's hardship today, then what we do is we want to vote NDC back into power so that we will make things easier for our population. People in the last election were deceived. A lot of promises were made, and those promises are not being fulfilled. It is easy to make promises to woo people to vote for you. But when you win an election and you become the government, you cannot use propaganda to continue to rule. Because the people are living their lives and they know the reality of their lives. And so you can't use propaganda to tell him his life is getting better when he does not feel that his life is getting better. At the time we were in office, a gallon of petrol was 14 cedis for 1 gallon. And they said the price was too high and that NDC had created hardship. Today, as I speak, a gallon of petrol is selling at almost 24 cedis per gallon. And so NDC is the government that will come and stabilize these petroleum prices. NDC is the government that will come and make life easier for Ghanaians.
You heard the former president, John Dramani Mahama, on his campaign tour in the northern region. Let's head back to Kumasi, where I told you about some scores of angry customers of First Allied Savings and Loans in Kumasi demonstrating. They're actually accusing the company of refusing to pay them their deposit for the last 4 months, despite persistent appeals. My colleague, Prince Apia, joins us on the line now. So, Prince, what kind of reasons have customers been given by the authorities as to why they've not been paid their monies?
What the customers are saying is that anytime they go to their bank, the officials there are not giving them any tangible response. All that they are saying is that they have challenges with their network and they are going to pay them their money at the end of the month. And for them, they cannot wait at the end of this month. They've been waiting for almost 4 months now, and that is the same excuse they keep giving them. And so now they are fed up, and that is why they decided to hit the streets this morning and send a petition to the regional minister for him to help them at least to address their grievances.
But we're told that petition to the regional authorities, do we know if that has happened?
Yes, it happened some few minutes ago, and Ashanti Regional Minister himself, Simon Osei-Mensah, received the petition, and he assured the customers that he is going to speak to the relevant authorities, agencies, and they are going to facilitate some meetings so that at least the customers' grievances will be ahead. Though the customers were not so much satisfied, what they say is that they are a little bit happy because for 4 months now they keep trying to get response from authorities, but they don't get it. So at least this assurance from the regional minister is a step in the right direction, and they hope that at least they are going to get their deposits, retrieve their deposits from the financial institutions. For them, if nothing happens after a week, they are going to bus themselves to Accra and petition the president at the Flagstaff House.
Thank you very much, Prince Apia. Let's head to the NDC headquarters now for some updates from that press conference being addressed by the General Secretary of the NDC, Johnson Asiedun Ketia. My colleague, Parker Wilson, is at that press conference and joins us on the line. We've heard the General Secretary of the NDC raise concerns about Professor Edward Duajiman and his role at the Audit Service. What other issues have come up?
Well, the NDC has been saying quite a number of things. Now, they want the president to answer why the government is running a parliament investigation. Now, with this, I mean, they are saying that former appointees of the NDC government have already been investigated by IOCO. And, of course, as we speak, the the investigations are still ongoing, so they don't understand why a cabinet will sanction another forensic audit into the accounts of these individuals. They believe that government is wasting the taxpayers' money, and they have been reliably informed that $6.8 million so far have been paid to these illegally recruited private firms. Now, what they are saying is that these illegally recruited private firms, because the Auditor General has not sanctioned any private firm to investigate or audit the accounts of the former appointees. And again, they mentioned that some individuals within government, and they were precise on Edward Diajiman and also Yawasafuma for the senior minister, that they have shareholdings in some of these private firms, and that is why they have engaged them to audit the former appointees of the NDC, because some of the money being paid to these private firms are rather channeled into their private accounts or into their pockets.
My colleague Parker Wilson there from the NDC headquarters will definitely get more of that in our subsequent bulletins. You're still listening to the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. Stories we've covered so far. Countdown to the much anticipated broadcast of Joy News special assignment documentary Who Killed the Judges begins as Joy News releases documentary on the shocking murders today. We got to hear from some senior journalists who lived through the era, including managing editor of the Daily Dispatch newspaper, who says there are still more questions than answers. And still to come, U.S. First Lady Melania Trump arrives in Ghana for a 2-day working visit to partner First Lady Rebecca Akufo-Addo and other agencies on child healthcare projects. We'll get to bring you a live update on her first stop to the Accra Regional Hospital.
36 years ago, 3 Superior Court judges were killed. Their charred remains discovered under mysterious circumstances, throwing a nation into chaos.
It still burns today that I can't feel that they were selected to be murdered, and that the Northerners felt it was Anuna boys who did it and wanted to implicate Northerners.
But after 4 different probes and investigations, there still remains the big question: who killed the judges?
They said they were carrying out instructions.
They were loyal to the system, and they knew that they were doing a national exercise.
In a Joy News special assignment on crimes that shook the nation, we look back on the 36-year-long contention over who killed the judges, airing 8:30 p.m. Tuesday, 2nd October on the Joy News channel, Joy FM, Love FM, Adom FM, and 9:30 p.m. on Adom TV. Who killed the judges?
This Wednesday, on the Joy Business Van, the indigenous company Omega Compusystem Engineering, providing a comprehensive range of IT hardware and software solutions, as well as office furniture.
I think we've tried to grow the business not in a rush. We measure our growth and we work with that. And that's what we're doing.
Don't miss this week's episode of the Joy Business Van with the General Manager of Omega Compusystem Engineering, Charles Ohuegbe. The Joy Business Van on TV, radio, online, and on ground. Powered by Joy Business and supported by EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank.
Thanks for staying with us. You're welcome back. It's time now for sports, and Gary L. Smith is in the studios. What's in sports?
Well, on November 19th, the African Cup of Nations for Women kicks off in Ghana. It's been fraught with a lot of difficulties. However, the local organizing committee of Ghana 2018 are confident of filling the stadia for games at the tournament, with spectating being a major component of a successful event. There is a plan to adopt different strategies to attract the number in the stands in Accra and Cape Coast, which are the venues. Rex Dankwa oversaw the successful execution of the 2008 African Cup of Nations, and he's the sports minister's representative on the LOC. He says that he has a solution to attracting fans.
And even for women's football, we are doing the first time for women's football. You understand? And we asked, and they bring the trophy down. doing the draw. And once they bring it, we've lined up a whole nationwide tour 10, all the 10 regions, and the Queens have done their own tour and come back. But we are doing the tour to promote the event, and then we'll start immediately after the draw. And it's not just for Ghana. At least the 7 nations that will be playing in the tournament, we intend to visit them and provoke them with a trophy that then they need to, especially with Nigeria. And once we have that, then we have to then engage the countries on the road that give them easy access. We did that during 2008. Once you use the diplomatic channels, then for the teams, it's easy to pass through at different times and come over. We'll do the same for Cote d'Ivoire, do the same for Burkina. And then we think that definitely we'll fail. We feel that is a challenge, but it will be a nice challenge to succeed and then fill with people paying tickets, buying tickets and watching.
Rex Dankwa was speaking on Sportslink with Nathaniel Atto on Saturday. Meanwhile, tonight is the Champions League. It returns 6:30. Please join us for the build-up. Myself and George Addo Jr. It's Man United versus Valencia.
And it's the best commentary in the world. You'd want to stay tuned to Joy 99.7 FM. Now, U.S. First Lady Melania Trump has arrived in Ghana as part of a 2-day visit to promote child welfare in Ghana. The U.S. First Lady's week-long trip will take her around 3 other countries on the African continent, Malawi, Kenya, and Egypt. Ghana's First Lady Rebecca Akufo-Addo welcomed the U.S. First Lady at the airport an hour ago. My colleague Hannah Odame is on the beat and joins us on the phone with details. Hannah, we understand she's currently at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital. What's happening there?
Yes, MFA, she just donated hampers and teddy bears, among other things, to mothers who were at the child welfare clinic a while ago. She interacted with the mothers there, and she advised them to take good care of their children. You know, she has this campaign on Be Best, which is also child-friendly focus. So she asked the women to take good care of their children. From there, she moved to the main hospital, the OPD, where she is currently donating a phototherapy machine.
But Hannah, you've also been speaking to some of the hospital authorities. What have they been telling you?
Yes, I did speak to the medical director of the hospital, Dr. Shefenyo, and he said that this machine that she has donated, the phototherapy machine, is a very good one to complement their efforts at the hospital.
Yes, as you know, the machine that was donated is called the phototherapy machine, and this particular equipment is one of the best in the market. And so we are very excited that this machine has been donated. We do have some others. This one is going to add to the number of phototherapy equipment that we have, which is going to go a long way in saving the lives of babies who develop that complication of jaundice during the neonatal period. So we are indeed very excited and happy.
But how is this going to impact your work here?
So as you know, neonatal jaundice is one of the commonest complications that babies in the newborn period develop. And it can be very fatal or very devastating to the baby if it's not managed timely and then in the appropriate manner. And so this machine that we have now added to the armament of equipment that we have is going to help in reducing, in a timely manner, in reducing such complications that the babies experience.
You heard there Dr. Sropenyo. He heads the Accra Regional Hospital, speaking to my colleague Hannah Odame. And it's time to check out what you've been talking about on social media. Of course, I'm told everybody is talking about who killed the judges. Salbona.
You see, you caught me off guard there.
I know.
All right,
What's
who killed
trending?
the judges? Hashtag who killed the judges was trending on Twitter. And Valanya Akatia says, thanks, Joy News, for this insight, because some of us were not born to witness this sad story. I rely on you to understand everything that relates for the killing of the judges. And Ed Frederick says, well, I don't support the airing of this documentary at all. It's in the past and it should be left to die naturally over many years. And so bringing it up now would end up opening old wounds. Now, that was from Facebook. Let's go to Twitter, where Ryan Van says, I really love this documentary. Some of us who never knew about this will listen and learn something. It will add to my knowledge in history. Hashtag who killed the judges. And at Kobe Lloyd says, We have to come to the bottom of this matter and bring the perpetrators to book. And Tikuba says, I will do my best to stay glued to my screens on Tuesday, suspecting some people already. I pray they're not the people.
If it was a foreign media that recounted the story, would we say the same things that we're saying? Okay, that's a question for all of us. And there's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. I am Emefa Apo. Have a good afternoon.